welcome to another NFL-based edition of the Daily Deuce. I'm Gary Graves from just outside Louisville, Kentucky, and in Maryland, not far from FedEx Field, home of the Washington Commanders, is my good friend, longtime esteemed colleague, John Webster. What's happening, Big John?
Gary, how you doing, man? I'm doing
All right.
great. I'm glad you're doing good. I see you have on a Washington nostalgia jersey today. I
Yeah.
see one in the background is Joe Washington,
Mm-hmm.
one of the all-time greats with the Washington franchise. Who are you? What jersey are you wearing, Gary?
One of Mr. Portis.
Mr. Clinton Portis, another Washington great. You representing very well today, Gary. I love it, man.
Yeah.
John Pitt,
Now
how are you doing?
don't
Go ahead,
hurt.
Gary. I'm
Don't.
sorry. Go
I
ahead.
got to tell you one thing. I got to get this in. I have one more jersey that I don't wear too often. I like the number, but the name on it, he didn't exactly have the best career in Washington, and that was Patrick Ramsey.
Yeah, Patrick Ramsey. Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
he was still one of the team players. So hey, what can I?
He was one of Steve Spurrier's finest. But
Yeah, with a better
hey,
coach. ..
John Pitt, how you doing, John Pitt?
Doing good. We got another special guest for the NFC East preview special series.
We got another special guest, a returning guest. He's not. No, I'm not going to say almost. He is family. He's part of the Daily Deuce. We're going to bring in today to talk about the Washington Commanders and how they're going to compete in the NFC East this season. The one, the only, Richard Myles.
Thank you, sir. And I apologize for y'all. You know me, I'm running from meeting to meeting, Mr. Webster. I'm trying to be like you.
Myles, as I always tell you, you're a whole heck of a lot better than I ever could be, man. I just sit back and look at you and I admire you, and you're doing a lot of great things, man. So just keep up the great work with the MFL. Before we get into the Commanders, any updates on the MFL you want to say before we go in? Any hot news you want to break on the Daily Deuce?
Well, we finished the exhibition season. Help the Chiefs, help the Chiefs. I'm so mad I don't know what to do. So you know what I'm going to do. I need to get another coach for them. But it was successful, Mr. Webster, getting guys an opportunity to get out there. Had an opportunity to meet a good friend of yours from the Baltimore Ravens, number 20 himself. I need not say his name, right?
Mr. Reed.
There you go. I think I'll send you the picture. And he was saying that, hey, keep doing what you're doing, and we'd like to have a conversation with you. So that's the update on the MFL.
We would love to talk to Ed Reed, one of the all-time greats and a Hall of Famer. Simply one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, talk to us about these Washington Commanders, Myles. Tell us, what do you think? Now, don't tell us the record and how far they're going to go until the end. Tease us with this part, that part, but tell us about everything else. Start with the quarterback. Tell me about the line. Tell me about Chase Young. Tell me about the running back. Tell us about everything.
Well, first and foremost, I want to apologize to you and my other esteemed colleague because I thought the Redskins was going to steal stuff. We're almost dead now. We're almost dead. And I was totally wrong about the quarterback. That wasn't a great train robbery. That was the greatest blown disaster that could ever happen to a team. But saying that and putting that to the side, Chase Young, I told you before, we should have made the trade long time ago. We should have got him out here a long time ago because they are not going to extend this contract. And before the year out, they're going to trade him. Watch.
Okay. What about the rest of the defensive line?
Well, come on now. I don't need to say nothing about the defensive line there. The defensive lines are heart and soul. We need a little work still with the linebackers. I don't think once the defensive coach really understand what he want to do, then it makes it easier for these guys. These guys are coming in. We're a younger team, if you notice, than we ever been in a while. And then as far as the quarterback, the insurance, I like that. But I Okay, I want to give my opportunity before I say anything, Mr. Webster. Before I talk badly, I think overall we got the best offensive coordinator around. I don't care what nobody say. We good on that. It's just that these young guys get an opportunity to buy into what we're doing. Once they buy into what we're doing, then we good. I know it's going to take a few growing pains, but then again, that's what the game of football is about. You know, the growing pains going to be there, Mr. Webster. But other than that, give them a chance. Give us a little bit of a chance, and I think we'll be all right.
Gary, jump in there, man. You know, I'll talk all day long. Jump in.
All right. Richard, I guess after a busy, eventful offseason, you know, with hiring excuse me, Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator, and most importantly, selling the team, there seems to be kind of a weight lifted off the shoulders, not only of the team itself, because, I mean, there was a big cloud hanging over it, but maybe the collective fan base. Tell me, just really put it in words, what it's like to actually have some enthusiasm. I mean, and is that the case, really? Is it more relief or is it enthusiasm about this team just because you don't have to hear Dan Snyder's name anymore?
Well, absolutely. You have to say that because what they say, the wicked witch is dead, okay? I myself had a chance to talk to Magic. I know him personally. I think you really want to put some things in place. Don't look for these drastic changes all at one time, okay? Give it a little time. I think it's definitely going to be some change in the coaching next year. But I'm not going to go that far. Like I said, I'm going to stay in the present. But, yeah, you sense that it's like a Advil off your shoulders. You know, people can breathe a little more. People are excited again. Because now, you know, one thing about the Redskins, the Commanders, everybody every year used to think Washington's going to the Super Bowl. You know how that is. I mean, the two worst jobs in the world is the president of the United States and the head coach of the Washington team. So that's where should I say, the problem comes in that, if you want to call it a problem. But I think you're right. It's you feel that relief for some reason or another, and I feel it as well.
Yeah. And see, because of that, for me, long distance, there was just a point, probably even long before I moved here to Kentucky, that I just said, I just can't do it anymore, you know, with the way that team was. That was when I kind of reverted my fandom to the Green Bay Packers, you know, present jersey excluded. And my reason for being a Packers fan really had to do with, you know, Willie Wood's roots and just that was the name I heard when I was growing up in Northwest DC, you know, hearing about our boy and you know, just really just kind of, you know, rooting for the team that I heard the most about as a kid in DC, and they were successful then. I was a Packers fan before I was a Redskins fan, and I stuck with them through all the years. And it just got to be, you know, too much of a, you know, when they became a punchline long ago, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I really was starting to feel sorry for fans that were still sticking with the team because, you know, it was ultimately a 20-year money grab for Dan Snyder. He paid what, $800 million?
Absolutely.
He walked away with $6 billion with a B.
Absolutely, exactly what it was. But you also realize that now you're making me date myself. Only my colleagues could do that. I'm one of Daily Duke Nation to do that. Yeah, because we know about Willie Woods. Willie Woods was from D.C., so we Herb Adley. You know, I mean, you think about these guys, and then you think about Washington was one of the last teams to get to sign African American players. You know, kind of get you kind of sad taste in your mouth, you know. So when you look at an organization like that was the last to get African American players, so it makes you just want to. And I was a Packers fan too. because of those reasons, because of Woody Woods and stuff, not because I wasn't going to be no Cowboys fan, that's for sure. I wasn't going to go that far. But I can understand why you feel that way, because we always thought of Bart Starr, and we thought of the great players they had on there. A lot of guys didn't realize Travis Williams was the running back, fast as I don't know what. They always talk about Bob Hayes. But Travis Williams, you made me date myself. I see you laughing. You got me dating myself. Travis Williams was nothing but speed and could run. Used to also wear the number 22. Now, you didn't know I remember all that, right?
See, I love going down memory lane sometimes with some of those old names.
Absolutely. But, like I say, you're right. It is a feel of relief. You have a feel of now you're expecting to hear some great things about the team other than the front office and ownership and what went on there. And not saying that the Washington organization was perfect, because that goes on in the NFL, that goes on in corporate America. It is what it is. But we all we can is, and with the Washington team, give them an opportunity, and I think we're going to be all right. I really do.
Yeah. I think if nothing else, Richard, that it's less of a distraction for the players. Again, look, I'm going to be realistic. I'm not expecting Super Bowl type stuff for the team, but I feel like now and talking about it's going to be about football, hopefully, which is really the important thing with this team. We heard too much about legal issues and economics and such. Let's just focus on the product on the field, and hopefully it'll really kind of pick up where they left off last year, because I thought they were kind of headed in the right direction last year. With all that stuff gone, let's see what they got. And I think they got the quarterback that they need for right now.
Yes, and with that insurance bringing in, I just feel that nobody's expecting us to do anything. Last year, a lot of people expected Washington to be that dark horse team. Now, it hadn't been for our coach that played somebody that shouldn't have played, I would have went with Heineke. Washington, by all reasons, Washington could have, the NFC East would have had 4 teams in the playoff. Can you imagine that now? 4 teams in the playoff. And when you look at the teams that went to the NFC Championship game, who it was. So you look at that and you have to smile and feel like, wow, we really skipped. Now, change the subject for a minute, because I know Mr. Webster, he's going to have something to say. The Eagles had their chance, and they blew it last year. So people think the Eagles are going to do all that. And when you get that opportunity, you got to seize it. Because you get to the Super Bowl one year, it's not automatic that you're going to come back. Most teams go to the Super Bowl, don't come back for a while. Philly is dead in the water. Now, I say that to people, and I know a lot of people, on y'all, the Daily Deuce, they go, oh, Dr. Myles wrong. They had their shot, and they blew it. So I'm looking for some really big things from Washington.
It seems we lost our man, Richard Myles, man, and that's one of those things about when you're doing a live taping. Anyway, John, let's analyze the offense for Washington. Let's talk about Sam Howell. What do you think of him as a quarterback? I like what I saw the little bit in preseason. I like the way he executes the offense. Actually, I like the way both quarterbacks execute that offense. Where do you think that takes them this year?
Well, I think Sam Howell has a lot of potential. I think you have to realize he is pretty much still a rookie as far as I'm concerned, even though it's his second year. And there's still a lot for him to learn. Second year, his second offensive coordinator, starting off fresh with Eric Bieniemy, and Eric Bieniemy is in my opinion, one of the best in the league. They made a good move by bringing in Jacoby Brissett. I think that is going to be great as well. But Gary, I'll be honest with you. I think the Commanders start the season with Arizona, then they have Denver, and who else do they have? Let me look at that real quick. They start off with Arizona, then they have Denver, then they have Buffalo, Philadelphia, and Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So in those first 5 games, I can see a scenario where Brissett could end up being the one that's starting. And that's not so much because Sam Howell is not good, but again, he is in his second season, but really his first year. It's a lot to grasp and to get a hold of, and it's also an important season for the Washington coaching staff. Rivera has started the season off, and he has put his faith in Howell. But let's not forget, Ron Rivera is coaching, hopefully, so he can get another contract next season with Washington, if not get another contract somewhere else. So if they start off 2-3, what do you think Rivera is going to do? I think at some point you're going to see Jacoby Brissett. I say week 5 at the furthest, week 8 you'll see Brissett.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it, I think with Howell, I think you have to be patient enough to endure some growing pains because, again, I like the fact that they brought in Jacoby Brissett. I think it's good insurance. I hope that they don't have to go to their insurance early because I wonder if that just kind of not so much blows up the chemistry, but makes them somewhat predictable. And then you don't have Sam Howell as that good backup. I mean, if you pulled him after, say, a 2-3 start, and you go with Brissett, and then you don't really have that much faith in Howell, I don't know what that does, that down the line. I think if you put that much faith in him and named him the starter now, that, again, unless he just completely struggles, that you got to stick with him until you can't stick with him.
Well,
that makes sense.
It makes all the sense in the world. But I would just like to add this to it, Gary. You say you stick with him until you can't stick with him anymore. Remember, Ron Rivera is coaching for his coaching life. And it's like baseball. How long do you go with that starter? How long do you go with that reliever? And I honestly believe Sam Howell is the future. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback in the NFL. But my honest opinion, Jacoby Brissett fits more into what Rivera wants. Now, is Rivera going to be able to stay out of what Bieniemy wants to have done? That's going to be another thing that you're going to have to look at, because that's 2 separate, totally different ways to run an offense. Think last year, Rivera, he wanted ground and pound.
Yeah.
Eric Bieniemy is going to open it up. We're going to do some things. And while you're doing some things and opening it up, a young kid like Hal is going to make some mistakes. That is called growing pains. But how much patience and how much time do you have with growing pains when you know the new owner is looking at you and your coaching career is on the clock?
Yeah. John, it wouldn't shock me if it, just given the timing of this acquisition of the changeover, that Rivera gets this year, and unless it really goes south, it wouldn't shock me if ownership just said, we'll get through this year, and let's look to next year. And next year might be the make or break year for them. I know that's kind of coming out of nowhere, but one thing about the NFL, unless it's really bad, that continuity, even for a season, that you take your lumps for a season and then you figure out how to cut ties, move on in the next year. Let's keep in mind that the sale was completed in July, right before camp. And while we know realistically that Rivera has to prove himself this year, that with the changes that they made, bringing in a new offensive coordinator, and we don't even know what Josh Harris really, really wants in a coach. I mean, again, you can watch all the shows, and there can be all the speculation about who might be available after this year. But I right now, I just don't. My gut tells me that Rivera, it might be more next year, that they're willing to take their lumps, whatever, especially seeing what that team did last year and trying to build on that. And especially with Sam Howell, taking over late when he did, that you kind of want to see how this one season works out, and then decide if it doesn't work out so much with the coach, that you make the change maybe early next year as opposed to this year. This might be more of a tryout year for him. I don't necessarily think it's going to be a make or break year for him. And I might be wrong.
I'll always tell you, like I've always said, I'm not advocating for anybody to lose their job. I would hope that you're right. But in my reality and my side of thinking, his audition is right now. He even gets it done now. I don't see him here next year if he doesn't get it done this year. And I think Josh Harris is like any other person that's a manager or owner or administrator, what have you. They will give you a trial, but in the end, they want the people that they want there. And that's not somebody that Josh Harris brought. And oh, by the way, he's not really overly successful. He won an NFC East in, I guess, his second year. Is it for his second year there?
Yeah, second or third year.
Yeah, he won the NFC East, 7-9. Got to the first round of playoffs, lost to the Buccaneers, who went on to win the Super Bowl. But I just think that this is it for him. He has to prove it now. If they are not successful now, they're going to have a problem. I think at the wide receivers, you got Jahan Dotson, you have Terry McLaurin, you have good receivers. At the running backs, I like Antonio Gibson. I like Brian Robertson. I think you got some good skilled players in place. You got a good tight end situation if you can keep Logan Thomas healthy. The defense, I think the defense is a strong point. I mean, you look at the defensive linemen, you look at John Allen, Deron Payne, Chase Young, and I disagree with Myles. I hear what he says about Chase Young. I think Chase is going to have a bounce back season. I'm rooting for him. I really am. I think there are a lot of naysayers saying what they are saying about him, but I think he's rehabbed well. I think he's going to come back this year, and I think he's going to show some things. And then the Commander's going to have to make a decision because they chose not to pick up his option. He's going to play a very good brand of football this season, Gary. I really believe that. They drafted a defensive back, and he's going to make some noise back there. Hopefully Kendall Fuller will get healthy and he'll be able to get back on the field this season. But I just think this team this year, if they want to make some noise all the way, I think at some point there's going to be a change at quarterback. With that change at quarterback, I'm going to say it to you now, Gary. With that change at quarterback, Jacoby Brissett is going to come in. He's going to save the day. And this team will end up either with a 10-win season or an 11-win season this year. I also think they'll either be in first place or second place in the NFC East this season.
As usual, John, when it comes to Washington, I'm always going to hedge my bets, temper my expectations because of the mediocrity. But I do feel like last year I felt like they were starting to turn a corner. They were playing better down the stretch. They seem to have some growth, and everything that you said about the defense gives me encouragement for this team for this year. But again, I think you do have to prove it. I probably have them maybe around. I'd say I believe that they'll be at least 9-8 and finish second in the division. If they can get to 10 wins, I think they can win the division. 10 wins is going to be tough for them. Looking at that schedule, I do think they're capable of 9 wins and being a better team, looking like a better team, especially defensively. Now, the position I really want to watch that I'm probably going to watch closer is the backfield, because as you said about Gibson and Robinson, and then drafting Chris Rodriguez Jr. from Kentucky. That guy was a 2,000-yard running back, and he is a hard charger. He is he is built kind of like Robinson. Robinson is really a wrecking ball. You remember what he did down at Alabama. Yeah. And I think Chris Rodriguez is kind of in that same vein. What I'm saying is that running back depth, it might be ground and pound, what Rivera likes, but I also think that Bieniemy can get something out of all three of those guys, with the passing game, which opens up possibilities, I think, all over for that offense. The thing I'm really looking forward to the most with that offense is that it won't be stagnant. I don't think it's going to be ground and pound, but I think you've got 3 guys who can tote the ball and hopefully catch the ball if Bieniemy really, really puts his mark on this offense, in addition to the receivers.
Well, Gary, it's going to be a very interesting season. The Commanders, think about this, Gary. It's the off season. It's the week before the NFL regular season starts. You have controversy going on with 1 or 2 teams. And 1 or 2 of those teams in controversy is not called the Washington Commanders. They're on the right path. They're on the right path. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. John, it's funny that here both of us are, native guys, and we essentially root for teams out of market. I think if nothing else, what I really want to see this year is a team that locals will want to come see and root for, because that's really been lost. And they've been losing it pretty much for the last 10 to 15 years. I forgot how many winning seasons they had under the previous ownership, and I want to say it probably wasn't even a handful, which is unacceptable, especially in Washington. But I think for the fan base, they want to see improvement. I think they want to see a team that's worthy of getting behind, even if they're 8-9 or 9-8. I do think they're capable, even with all that drama that they had last year. And I think Richard pointed this out just as well, that they came that close to putting 4 teams, putting almost the entire division in the NFC playoffs. That's a good baseline to build on. I hope that they can build on it with a better offensive plan. And, again, I think offense, defense wins championships, but offense sells tickets, and that's what Washington needs probably more than anything else.
Yeah, we're going to see what's going to happen, man. This has been really great.
Well, we're halfway through the division. I think our next time, we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, right, John?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, that's the one I'm looking forward to, because Richard pointed out something about teams that lose the Super Bowl. I think it was more about, first-time quarterbacks in the Super Bowl that lose, don't get back. I think the Eagles are capable of getting back, but, Jalen Hurts, faces a tough obstacle in history, but, I don't think he even knows how good he is now. I still think there's a high ceiling for him. I still look at Philadelphia as the favorite, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. Take us home, John.
Hey, Gary, it's been another great show. All I'll say about the Eagles, they ain't getting back this upcoming season, Gary. That's all I'll say. You want to hear the rest? Tune into our episode with the Eagles and talking to Jesse Clay about the preview with them. Thank y'all for watching today. As always, watch some football, watch some basketball, watch baseball, but just whatever you do, watch some sports. Take care. We'll see you again real soon.